G'day and welcome to the Board Crew. I am a new voice here, Adam, or people would know me as Hocky, and I am joined with the wonderful
Ben.
Hey, we're on episode 8.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
We're going to make 10 for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna get there eventually. I'm stepping in. I'm coming in, taking over from those other fine folks that have been doing a fantastic job. So we're going to talk about a few games, and we're going to talk about Love Letter, I would say it's my all-time favorite game. We're also going to talk about
Distilled.
Yeah, everyone get your glasses ready for that one.
Yeah, raise a toast.
And lastly, we'll talk about Suburbia, a city building game.
I think they're all going to be good games.
They are very good games.
Well,
So,
let's dive in.
let's do it. So Love Letter, it's a fantastic game by Seiji Kanai, and it is produced by AEG. Now, this, as I mentioned in the intro, this would probably be my all-time favorite game. It's so simple. It's only a deck of 16 cards and 8 different characters within those cards. And the idea is to have the most points at the end. You eliminate the other players or have the highest number card at the end of the round. Rounds go very quickly, but each of the cards have a different power or different ability. And it's so simple to keep in track. I've played this with 16-year-olds. 6-year-olds, I should say.
Well, 16-year-olds as well, I'm sure.
And 16-year-olds. And my family have played this a lot. And it's just so simple. So the idea is to eliminate the other players. There is a weird story. I don't know why they put this story to it, but it's about you are a suitor trying to get a love letter to the princess, and everyone else is a suitor as well. And so within the game, the princess is the number 8 card, highest card in the deck. So if you have her at the end of the round, you win the round. However, she is a bit of a double-edged sword. The game plays is that you have 1 card in your hand, draw a card, and you'll discard a card to play it. If you have to discard the princess at any point, you are out. It's rough, especially when they get that princess early on.
Yeah, you're just basically sitting on a ticking time bomb at that point.
It is so rough having her at the start. But each of the cards, I say there's 8 cards, and a lot of them will compare with others, or you will guess the other person's card, things like that. And it helps you progress. There's a little bit of deduction in the game. So you might, especially when you get to the later part of the round, you might go, you're trying to guess, has he got the number 7 card or he's got number 5 card? Can I beat him? Can I hold out? Yeah, it's really interesting in that way.
Especially because there's only 16 cards and you put 1 card aside that's not in each game. So as that round goes on, you've seen maybe 13 of the cards because they're all discarded publicly. And so you can kind of card count and go, well, he has to be one of these 3.
Yes, indeed. And it's actually hilarious. I remember a while ago when we were playing, Ben and I and some other players, and I kind of benefited from a few different things in the game where 1 card will compare with another card. And it worked out where one person had the 8, one person had the 7, highest card wins. And so the 7 gets eliminated, and I'm there going, well, I guess you've got the number 8.
And that happened 3 times in a row.
3 times in a row. It was hilarious.
Every time I'm like, well, I've got the 8. I'm going to win this compare. This is great. And then, choose a person who happens to have the 7, therefore giving away that I've got the 8. And Hocky's just like, oh, well, I guess that you've got the 8. And
I'll take that. That's one of the reasons why this is my favorite game. That you're just laughing at the weird circumstances that come up with that. There's also the card number 1. You get to choose another player and guess what number card they have. And in the first round when there's no information and you guess it in that first round. You're saying, have you got a number 6? And they go, yes, I do. And everyone just goes, oh my God. It's just so much fun to have and laughing and carrying on. And because the rounds are so quick, when someone's eliminated, the game's over the round is over in the next, I don't know, 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes.
You'd never be sitting out for more than 5 minutes, assuming that you're doing the normal thing and playing this with 4 or less players.
Yes.
There is kind of an expansion set that lets it go up to 8, I think.
Yes, there is. And I have played it with 8. So it is only for 4 players. However, they came out with a special edition, which I own because I love this game so much, which came with another 16 cards and would take it up to 8 players. But I have played it at that higher count. And even though the new cards are a lot of fun, it just makes the rounds go a lot longer. So when you get eliminated, you might be waiting 10 minutes, just going, especially if you're eliminated right at the start, you're waiting too long. The premium one is good with 5, I've noticed, but I would recommend keeping it to 4 or under. But there are multiple versions of this game too.
This would be in the running, maybe Monopoly would beat it.
Yes.
For a number of different versions of this game.
My goodness, there's so many. And I own 4 different versions.
Okay, so I'm going to try and guess. You've got basic love letter. You've got the premium edition love letter. You've got the Batman one.
Yep.
Is there a Marvel one?
I don't know if there was a Marvel one. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with a Marvel
I think there's one like where it's Thanos or something that you've got to...
Maybe.
Okay, so you don't own that one.
I don't own that one.
Oh gosh, no, I don't know then. The wedding version, no.
There is is it Adventure Time? I believe Adventure Time one came out, or one of those Cartoon Network ones. But the other one I own actually is Lovecraft Letter.
Oh, of course. Yes.
The Cthulhu themed one, which actually has a different mechanic in it. Plays exactly the same, but there's sanity involved in that one. And there's actually more cards as well. And you can play a card, one of the cards that is like the evil or, the bad guy ones means that you've gone insane. And you can win differently and cards change their way that they work. It's actually really clever on how it is incorporated into this love letter game.
Yeah, nice. I've played a couple of the different versions and they seem quite interesting. I would agree with you in terms of not wanting to play more than 5 players, even with the premium. Although if you're playing online on BGA, it doesn't matter when you get knocked out because you're like, asynchronously anyway. And this game works really well async on BGA because the cards are all laid out, who's played what, and so it's really easy. You've only got to count 16 or so anyway.
No, it's so easy. And so you can play this with young people, and just because each card has the rules on them as well, so it explains it really well.
Yeah,
if you just read it, just go, oh yeah. The only one card that I get caught out with, and this actually happens to me, and if I muck it up. Card number 7, if you have a number
number 5 or a number 8
and a number 6 or the number 8, you must discard the number 7.
Yep.
And I've accidentally played the other card and it's gone, oh wait, I've had the 7 in my hand. So I usually count myself out and say, oh look, I messed up, I'm out.
Yeah.
But it's the only one that sort of catches people a little bit, especially me. But as I say, all the cards have the rules on them. You have a little also handy card so you can go, if you're trying to guess.
Yeah, how many of each numbers, because the lower numbers have more
Yes.
copies than, given it goes to 1 to 8 and there's 16 cards. There's not 2 of every card.
No.
There's only 1, 8, 1, 7, I think.
Yep. 1, 6. There's 2 of 5, 4, 3, and 2. And then there's 5 of number 1.
Yeah.
Which is the most common, the lowest number, but it can be a good card too. So yeah, it's interesting. And that's why in the rules you can't guess a number 1 if you play a number 1 card, but there's things like that. But yeah, I say it's just such a good little game in a little package. The original game came in, like the 16 cards came in a little pouch, like a little red pouch. And, you know, you just chuck it in your pocket, go off somewhere. Such a simple game, like with lots of fun, all put into this little tiny package.
And like you said, good for kids, good for a welcoming game for people that haven't played much or haven't played any games. They'll be able to pick this one up and be competitive.
Oh, indeed. So, I noticed that because I have played this a lot, that it doesn't take very long for someone to pick up. Like you play, they're a bit confused to start with. What? I've got one card and then I draw what? After around 2 at most, they're going nuts and having a laugh, enjoying it so much. So.
Yeah, good stuff. So that's Love Letter.
Love Letter. Yes, go check it out.
All right, the next game we're talking about is Distilled. This is by Dave Beck and art by Eric Everson. And this, well, on the box it says it's a spirited strategy game.
Puns intended.
Yeah, clearly. This is a game about where you're going to be distilling spirits. And I've played lots of games that have about making alcohol, especially whiskey. That seems to be a common sort of thread. Wine is the other big one. Distilled is probably one of the most thematic ones, other than some of the wine ones. Some of the wine ones go very deep into, got vineyards and everything else. But this, you're just in the distillery. So you're collecting ingredients, you distill them. And the big catch of this thing is apparently when you distill things, I've been a baker professionally, but never a professional
I've done homebrew. That's about it.
I haven't even done that. Beer, so you take off the top and the bottom of whatever you still, because the top is called the taint, I think, and the bottom's called the muck or the soil. This is all in the rule book. They tell you about it.
Explain.
But basically, you don't want to drink the stuff that's at the top. It's like going to be basically 100% proof or whatever. Yeah. And the stuff at the bottom is like sediment and gunk. So the way you're going to do that is your ingredients are cards that you're collecting. And then when you choose what to put in your still, you'll take that bunch of cards, shuffle them up, and then you lose the top and the bottom of the cards, which may be really critical for what you actually needed to make. You might be trying to brew a really nice gin, which needs a couple of bits of fruit sugars in it. And if you only put 2 fruit sugars in it and then you lose one of those, well, you can't make gin.
Gin.
So you're probably going to be making vodka.
Something really simple. Moonshine.
Yeah, there's 2 sort of basic spirits, moonshine and vodka, which you're going to make something and it's going to be one of those 2, and you're probably going to be disappointed that you got one of those 2. So the moonshines are when you have no sugars left, whatever, and vodka's when you just have like this mishmash of like, I've got a bit of plant sugar, a bit of fruit sugar. I chucked in some grain as well. Yeah, it's a really beautiful design in all of the packaging and your player boards, all of the art on it really kind of evoke this kind of idea of a premium boutique distillery.
Yes.
Really? You also get a family recipe and a person that you are.
I love that. I love that idea that you're playing a different person from around the world as well. There's all like Australia, there's English, there's South African, there's
Caribbean spirits, Asian spirits, so sake, etc. Depending on the players that you play with, you'll play with a different tasting note, it's called, which is basically different kinds of spirits that you'll be able to brew during that game. And that will depend partly on, which players are playing which nations. They bring their own kind of thing. And you'll have a secret family recipe that you can unlock that is worth lots and lots of points, but very hard to make usually. It needs a key ingredient of like that only you will have access to.
Yeah, it's so clever. So the playability of that like blows me away that you can change it so much, and it's so good.
Yeah. Apart from ingredients, you're also collecting bottles or kegs to put things in. So some spirits, like a good whiskey, you're going to want to age over time, and the longer you age it, obviously the more valuable it is. you get kind of tasting notes or flavors that go into it, which are interesting, but I actually found them a bit
Yeah.
like, because it doesn't really matter what tasting notes I get in.
Yes.
It's like, oh, look, mine tastes like chocolate and bread and
an old boot.
Yeah, and also an old boot. I mean, the old boot one's not worth as much, but you don't get any choice. You just randomly take a tasting note and put it in. Some special abilities let you draw 2 and put it in, but it kind of, they're going to be worth 1 to 3 extra points. But it felt like a missed opportunity that this thing soaking in theme, it made no difference whether I got chocolate or licorice because they're both 3 points.
Yeah.
And that was a little sad. It felt like maybe they could do more with the tasting notes.
I played this game. I actually didn't get to the point where I was able to distill. I managed to only have a short run of it, and I didn't get to that point where we were adding flavors. So I didn't get to see them, and hearing you talk about them is going, it is such a shame that you can't tailor it towards a particular flavor. It's more just flavor as in, the idea of it rather than any thematic or game mechanic, I should say. It's just
it really could have been draw a card that says you get 2 bonus points.
Yeah, that's it.
And they've just slapped a flavor on top of it, which... Yeah. But everything else about it, so yeah, you can buy different items to put your stuff in. Different bottles will do better for putting different spirits in. So, like a beautiful skull glass bottle is probably better to put something like tequila in than putting, a fine Scottish whiskey.
Yes. Yeah.
So you'll get extra points for bottling things in the right style of either jug or so on. I mean, it's got really classic things too. Like you can get a 4-liter plastic bottle that you can put it in. And then you get to sell it for lots, but it's worth negative points at the end because that's not a premium spirit.
That's exactly
it's a 4-liter jug. And you can also buy distillery upgrades.
Yeah.
So things that will give you some kind of permanent bonus over. That
workers
might be, they could be workers that allow you to get ingredients cheaper. It might be upgrading your still. So you could have a kind of still that you only lose the top card because it already filters out the bottom. Or after you lose those 2 cards, you can shuffle them again and try again because you lost that really key thing that you had to have in. Or maybe you get extra points for distilling this kind of spirit.
Those upgrades, it just changes that game up again because you don't know what's going to come out. It's all randomized. So you just go, oh, yeah, I've got the perfect combination. The next time you want to try and get for that, but the cards won't come up. And you're just going, okay, change your strategy again.
Yeah.
So good.
And the game does kind of encourage you to brew a bunch of different spirits over the game because you get points for distilling a kind of spirit you haven't done before. And so buying and unlocking recipes, getting new types of ingredients rather than just kind of going, oh, well, I'm just going to make vodka the whole game. You're not going to win.
No, you're not. And there's levels to what you're distilling. So at the top of this list is more the easier ones, but as it gets down further, because you need bigger items like bigger distilleries, bigger kegs.
You might need to do an aging process, which means it's going to take a couple of rounds before you can actually sell it, which is harsh on the money.
Yeah, it's harsh too because you generally can't get to those until later in the game, and you start to think, oh, I have to distill this now or I won't actually be able to make this.
Look, I quite like Distilled. I'd have 2 minor complaints against it. The first is really minor, but it for you may be a big issue. It's pretty multiplayer solitaire. There is a shared market of ingredients and upgrades, and someone might take the kind of ingredient that you really wanted or the bottle that you were really hoping for. But there's generally options in those. Sometimes someone will take a distillery upgrade that I'm like, oh, that looks amazing. But generally there's some good options there, and there's always a basic market, so you're never going to be completely locked out.
Yeah, that's it. You might just go, oh, they've taken that particular item, though you might be able to get it next round. It doesn't matter.
There's a lot of copies of lots of the items and so on. And then there's a bit of a race for goals. If I'm the first one to brew 4 spirits from the North Americas, I'll take extra points.
That was a interesting thing too, is that the goals actually, half the goals disappear at halfway through the game too, don't they?
Yeah. So there's kind of to push you, I think, to try and really, you can't rest on your laurels to do it. But really, you don't care what other people are doing. And when you get to the distilling phase, you'll just be like, oh, I'm just going to shuffle up my cards. And you'll hear groans and cheers from across the table as people got their exact drink in the way that they got and make lots of money out of it. And then you kind of compare who distilled what. So on. But really, this says it plays, I think, 5 players. I don't reckon I'd play it with more than 3.
Yeah.
It's just, unless I'm playing it on BGA, it's recently come out on BGA. Fine, I can play a 5-player game on that. That's, I don't care. But otherwise, like, this is a really long time between turns.
And it is a big box too, so there's lots and lots of components.
Yep.
So setting it up for, even just for 3 players, is a long time. And you got extra players. Does it scale? Like, do you have to put out more stuff with more players?
No, not necessarily, other than each player gets their own board, etc. But the market is still only 4 cards, no matter how many players there are, 4 cards of each. But really, I think the big thing is an extra player doesn't add anything extra. Like, you play this with 2 and 3, it feels exactly the same.
Yeah.
Play it with 4 or 5, it feels exactly the same, just twice as long.
Yeah. What I would say is, though, one of the things that I found really striking was the point scoring board, because it's all bottles and glasses.
Yep.
It was just, it caught me really well. And looking at the scoring board, going, what is this?
Yep.
I thought it was like some major mechanic in the game, but no, it's just a point scoring. And it's just all like you would see the top shelf, on a wall, you would see all the shelves of the glasses and such.
Yeah,
it was just really striking.
All those bottles that you can never afford to buy. What's that pink one up there?
Such a pretty looking game.
Yeah, this is really a rare beast in that it's a theme first Euro.
Yes,
there are a couple of those around, but not many. If that's your jam, you're probably going to love Distilled. Yes. The other thing that I would say is, like, it does feel like it takes a long time to play, especially at higher player counts. But you also kind of feel like you didn't have enough time to really make a great aged whiskey, or like you were saying, Hocky, those hard to make spirits that you need to age. If you make them like in the second last round, well, you don't have any time to age them.
You can't age them and you don't get much benefit out of it.
Yeah. And so you're like, oh, I finally managed to make a X. Oh, well, I get to do nothing now with that. And I get some like consolation prizes for having it in my cellar. But yeah, there's that. Sometimes the ending can feel a little bit anticlimactic because of that, because actually your last turn won't be your greatest turn. Or maybe it will, because the thing that you did 3 turns ago finally pays off, but you don't get to do much in the last turn that's amazing, because if you brewed something really amazing, you'd have to put it in the cellar for the turn that's happening that won't happen.
That won't happen. Exactly. Yeah. So it can be just disappointing when you get to the last round going, well, all I really can make is the stuff that I can sell straight away.
Yeah. Another vodka, please.
Yeah. I want my moonshine.
Look, so I'd recommend giving Distilled a go. I reckon it's a good game, not a great game, but if you're looking for a theme-based Euro, this is one of the best that I've played.
Indeed.
That's Distilled.
Okay, for our final game, we're going to talk about the wonderful Suburbia by Ted Alspach, and Bezier Games is the designer or the publisher. This is SimCity, the board game,
but without the dragons and dinosaurs or earthquake.
Yeah, all the bad stuff. This is all the good stuff. It is a city building game. We're all part of a city, and we are controlling one suburb of that city, or they call it a borough for some reason. It's a word I'd never heard of before this game.
Yeah, and it's almost like they had a word for it in the title of the game and then went, you know what? No.
Let's change that.
Yeah. Although I guess borrower doesn't sound as good as Suburbia.
True.
I don't know. Maybe it's just our Aussiness that we're like, we don't have burrows.
Yeah, what's a burrow? Isn't that what? Anyway.
The Wombat edition.
The Wombat. So Suburbia is a city building tile laying game. You will buy tiles from a marketplace and you'll place them into your city. And each of those tiles has their own little rules to them on how they interact and how you gain income and reputation and how they affect themselves, every tile around them, and also tiles in the whole city altogether. You want to get people coming into your city. You want to make it more enticing for people, and that is your score points. You've got a little board to the side that keeps track of how many people come in, and as they come in, you get more points. But it is a double-edged sword having those points, because the quicker it goes, you start to lose income and reputation. So income is what you need to buy the tiles, and then reputation is the amount of people that come in at the end of each turn. And on that scoreboard, you go past certain markers, and those markers will decrease because the city needs more maintenance and upkeep. It costs more to run. So as you gain more people, you start to lose those reputation. So you have to keep upping it, keep maintaining it.
Which is a really nice thematic element that
so fantastic.
You can't just have a bunch of people in a slum. You have to build the infrastructure, the services, the entertainment, the employment opportunities for them. Else you just turn into this kind of cesspool of a borough, I guess.
Yes, exactly. And it's quite daunting to go, I'm starting to lose my income and soon I'm going to go into the negatives. So you start losing and I've got to, so you got to buy the right tiles. Just go, okay, let me get more income or let me get more people or reputation. So you're really trying to find that balance. You buy those tiles from a marketplace. So the general marketplace that everyone can buy from. And on your turn, you will buy from a selection of, I think it's 7 or 8 different tiles. The tiles that have been out longer are cheaper than the brand new tiles that have come in. And you always have to buy something or take something from that marketplace every round. So it's always moving. Even if you may play an upgrade tile to one of your existing ones, you still have to remove something from the market. So it's always moving. And you can also buy the opposite side of the tile, which is just water, but the water helps you gain money, as you will probably need.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The way to get out of a hole is fill it with water.
Yes, true. For some reason, yeah. Let's just put water there and gain $10. Woohoo.
Well, now you can swim out.
So, as I say, the market's always moving. You have 3 sets of tiles and an A, a B, and a C. And as they deplete, they slowly replace by the next letter up. And they just are more, probably just better tiles. So they might give you more stuff, more people coming in. So they theme it so hopefully at the start you're gaining a lot more income. Then you're slowly switching around. But everything, you don't have to do it that way, but it's, kind of interesting how you do. There's also goals that you're trying to chase as well. So there is a personal goal, but there's a public goals that you're all trying to compete for. And yeah, you just play buying a tile, building into your city, and hopefully everything will work out. Hopefully.
And one of the things that I really like about Suburbia is the player interaction. So obviously there's who buys what from the market.
That can be annoying when they buy the thing. It's just going, oh, damn you.
But often in tile laying games, there's not a lot of interaction unless you're all building the same thing. Like in Carcassonne, there's a lot of interaction because you're all building the same thing. But in other ones where you're building your own separate thing, sometimes you don't care. But Suburbia gets around that by having tiles that impact other people's cities based on how many tiles they have or you have. So like airports are an example.
Airports are great.
You know, if I have an airport, well, that's beneficial to me. But my airport gets better the more airports there are in the whole city. So how many Hocky has, how many I have, well, it's a mutually beneficial sort of boost to each other.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those tiles that sort of look at, well, how many things do other people have of these? Or I think there's even some that are sort of the other way, like they work less if there's too many of them. You know, the city's overpopulated with Thai restaurants or something.
Yeah, that's it. There is.
Yeah, your Thai restaurant's not going to make that much if it's the 15th one that's going in. Even though you might not have many, but Hocky's got all of them.
Yeah, that's
So-
yay!
Yeah.
I think there's one that's a skyscraper and going, yeah, build a skyscraper. And then your neighbor builds a skyscraper and just going, damn you. Now mine's not as tall or as important as your skyscraper. So, yeah, it's great that has that little bit of interaction in that. Yes, it kind of is a little bit solo-ish in some aspects, but then you'll get something like, I think it's the homeowners association. You buy that tile.
Everyone's favorite.
Yeah, that's it. But it kind of is in some regards, because if I've got that and then Ben builds, you know, a lot of homes in the suburbs, then I will get benefit out of that. I'm just going, hey, what did you just build? Thank you. I get $10 from the bank or something. It's really good in that regards, is that you can. And people are there going, oh, I don't want to buy this because that's going to benefit you.
And it is good that the interactions are basically, for want of a better word, non-negative to the others. You know, even the homeowners association or something. It doesn't actually hurt me. It just benefits Hocky.
Yeah.
And the airports, you know, it's mutually beneficial. There's no ways in Suburbia to kind of like, well, I'm just going to destroy half your suburbs now or something. Or, you know, you just built that, oh, well, I'm demoing it, etc. You get to keep your own stuff.
Yes, you do. And once you've laid down a tile, even for yourself, there's really no way to destroy that. You've set down that infrastructure. You can't go back on that, unfortunately.
You're going to live with that.
You're going to live with those
Even
mistakes.
water can't get you out of that hole.
So yes, you are kind of stuck with that, but it's not all bad. You can actually get around that. And one of the really cool things, we'll talk about the airports. The thematic part about it that I really love is that if you build an airport next to a lot of houses, you're going to get negative reputation because people don't want to live next to an airport. It's really well, cleverly designed in that regards. There's factories. If you have factories next to a park, yeah, people don't like that. So there's great little things about that.
I don't know, little Timmy could play with that lead paint that's dripping out. So.
Oh, I played in the rubbish tip when I was young. Sure, it'll be fine. So, yeah, it's really clever in that regards. Now, I've got this is one of my favorite games. I just love this game so much. And I've got the big box expansion, a special edition that came out with all the expansions. And the expansion can go up to 5 players. It's mainly a 4-player game if you buy the base, but it can go up to 5 with the expansion. And it adds some extra tiles into it. One of the expansion adds like these border tiles that you can only put on one side. You can't build on the other side, but they're these longer tiles that you attach, and they can give you benefits. Some of them can give you negative benefits. Like there's ones, I think it's like a radioactive place and it just kills people.
Right, that's what I want to build in my burrow.
Woohoo! So there
do you
are
get
some
like
negatives.
lots of money for putting it there or something?
I think you do.
Yeah,
I think
right.
you get a lot of just going, yes, I'm rich now.
We'll store your radioactive dump.
So there's a really cool thing like that. You can put that down and in the expansions, and there's other little benefits that you can have, but just having more tiles. Now, when I say about having more tiles can actually be great and a bit of a detriment in its as well, especially if you're looking for particular tiles that work well together. I've got an expansion that is to do with the conventions like Gen Con and what's the German one?
Essen.
Essen, yes.
I mean, hopefully they're adding CanCon to that soon, right?
Yeah, sure they are.
Yeah. We're international.
And if you've not put them in specifically and you've just shuffled them all together and you're pulling out these tiles going, oh, I hope that other tile's going to be in the stack, because you don't know. The stacks are secret until they come out to the market. And if it's not in the stack and you've bought this tile, yes, it does give you some benefits, but it really gives you benefits if there's other tiles of the same type. So unless you're making sure that those tiles are in there, there can be that little bit of downside. It is fun shuffling everything up and not knowing what's going to come out, but then you've got to really think about, I don't know if I want to buy this tile now. Is that going to go to waste?
Yeah, it may not reach its full potential.
Yeah.
And I guess, look, Suburbia is probably the least new player friendly out of the games that we've talked about today.
Indeed.
It's not a particularly heavy game, although it's a little bit more complex than the other two. But yeah, this one is one that rewards repeated plays and a bit of skill. I'm going to think about how I'm going to lay out my city, and I have some awareness of what's coming in. And that real push and pull of when do I want to start rushing for the end game.
So at the start of the game, you want to kind of focus on getting income so you can buy tiles. But as I mentioned, that there's these markers, and as you get higher on the scoreboard, the markers are closer together, and you can pass them in one turn. You can pass them all in one go, which drops down your reputation, drops down your income. And you've got to try and figure out that point of the game halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way through, when you want to stop focusing on income and really start ramping up the reputation. And that flip can vary, really. You just don't know when, and you're just going, oh, is this about the right time that I can start doing that? You start to see other people sort of get a lead, and you think, maybe, are they pushing too fast, too quickly? I think it's really clever in that regards. But again, as you mentioned, that having a couple of plays helps with figuring that part out, especially how all the tiles interact. First-time players, they get really confused because you'll buy a tile. Oh, I like the look of that. I want this skyscraper. And you go, well, you put down the skyscraper and the tile gives you benefits. Then its neighboring tiles will give you benefits if it's placed next to a particular tile. And then everyone's goes, you got to look at other people's boroughs as well and go, does that affect you? So trying to keep track of that when you're brand new can be a little tricky. So having an experienced player playing with you, because they can say, oh, if you buy that and you put that there, this will happen, or I will benefit, or you will benefit, or things like that. So I think having someone who's already played it is really helpful. Not necessary, but helpful.
Yep.
I really, really like this game. I've got 3 top games, and this is one of them.
So you've got 2 of your 3 top games in your first episode. You're coming out swinging.
I'm coming out with the strong ones. So yeah.
You've heard it from Hocky now. Like almost everything else he'll talk about on TBC will be crap.
It's all rubbish. No. That's the city building game, Suburbia. Hopefully you like it.
All right. So we talked about Love Letter.
Love Letter. Yes.
Distilled and Suburbia.
And Suburbia. Yeah, as I say, 2 of my favorite games in the world. Yeah, I'll have to bring out the other one time. My third favorite, which will have to wait for a secret. You'll have to keep listening.
Yeah, well, spoiler, it's not Distilled.
No,
but again, Distilled is a good game. I recommend giving it a go. If you're on BGA, you can try it out there. But some of the components you're going to miss. Yeah. On BGA. The art is ported over nicely, so you will get a bit of a sense, but it is a step down on theme when you're playing it on BGA. But still, that's a great way to test out a game. So.
Same with Love Letters come out with multiple things. The newest version, I actually am not keen on the newest artwork in the new version of the game. The artwork from the original game, I think, was perfect. It actually was interesting because they had this whole world theme with multiple games.
I played 2 of the other games in the Courtier universe, I think they called it.
I've played one other.
Yeah.
So.
I'd just recommend playing Love Letter.
Love Letter's the best of them all. It really is such a
There's
great
a reason
game.
most people haven't even heard of the other 4. And one of the other ones that I played wasn't bad. The other one was. And but it wasn't particularly good either. So stick with Love Letter.
Stick with Love Letter. And then build some cities afterwards. Why not?
Yeah, that's it. You can have a drink while you're doing it.
That's it. Exactly.
Well, that's episode 8 for the board crew. We look forward to you getting bored with us next time.
Cheers.
This has been The Board Crew. Hey, thanks for listening. You can join the conversation by rolling the dice or just rolling over to our socials. Just search The Board Crew on Facebook.
You're never going to learn a game from a podcast.
No, that's it. You need visual reference and you need lots of...
We're not doing how to plays. We're just...
No.
We're giving you